Hello, friends, and welcome to Nale Yoga, the podcast with Yoga Nidra journeys for deep rest and more. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by another very special guest, Shaina Hammer. Shaina is a birth doula and a mental health professional, a licensed clinical social worker who works primarily with women through a deeply holistic mind-body approach to birth and motherhood. And what I really appreciate about Shaina's work is the way that she brings together mindfulness, somatic awareness, and emotional care. She teaches conscious mindfulness-based birth preparation, drawing from hypnobirthing, meditation, and nervous system awareness, which helps parents prepare not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well for this transition into parenthood. In addition to birth preparation, Shaina also supports women who are postpartum, including those who are processing birth trauma, and helps create a safe space for integration, grounding, and restoration at a time when so many women are just feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and not getting the support that they need. In this conversation, we're going to talk about presence, rest, nervous system regulation, guilt-free self-care, which is what all moms need, and what it really looks like to support women, especially new moms, in coming back to their bodies and themselves. So I'm really excited for this conversation, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. Welcome to the show, Shaina.
Hey, Ruthie. So happy to be here.
I'm so glad to have you here. And maybe we can just start with you sharing a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in birth and healing, and supporting women, especially with having your combination of being both a doula and a therapist. It's not something you hear of every day. So I'm wondering, how did you arrive to that meeting of fields?
So I'll start by introduce myself. My name is Shaina Hammer, and I live in Israel. I have 3 kids, and like Ruthie said, I'm a therapist and a birth worker. So what I do is I combine both of them together, and I find that it works really well. So how did that come to be? I was first training to become a therapist. This is 13 years ago, 14 years ago. And I was naturally interested in birth because I think that a lot of women are. I think there's a natural curiosity there. Actually, this is before I even had kids, funny enough. But I just found it to be really, really interesting. I didn't think so much of it, but I wanted to just give it a shot. And I was totally fascinated and blown away. And as I was learning more and reading more, I realized how much of a connection there is to our mind and our body when it comes to birth. And and then I got to see it firsthand going to births and seeing women in their most vulnerable but also most powerful place and realizing that they're not just going in and giving birth. It's so much more than that. And they're really coming in with all of themselves and everything that they're holding and everything that's going on for them. You really kind of see it playing out in a beautiful way. Um, and I just found that they're so connected. And it really started by reading a book about how fear holds back our birth and everything that happens physiologically when we're afraid and what's going on in our bodies. And it makes so much sense to me of, this combination of the mind body experience. And I'm just really so happy to be doing this work.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you remember what was the book that you were referring to?
Yeah, so actually the first book I that really just blew my mind was it's called Childbirth Without Fear. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
that's what it's called.
oh,
Childbirth
okay.
Without Fear. Um and yeah, that's basically what it was talking about is what fear does to the body. And it's such a natural thing to fear childbirth or to fear the unknown. Um
Mhm.
Yeah, but when we notice it and realize really what's going on, what happens to really any fears in our body and how it plays out, it's just really it opens up a whole world, and that's kind of what happened to my experience of it's not just fear, it's everything that you're coming into with the
Yeah.
in your birth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting. And you're right, because fear, it's all about using your imagination to foresee something bad or dangerous that will happen in the future. But I find that when we're in the imagination is oftentimes a lot worse than the present moment. And
Mhm.
if we can just be in the present moment, then it's tolerable. It might be uncomfortable or unpleasant, but it's tolerable. Um, but the fear in the imagination gets conjured up into this big, intolerable story of like, I'm not going to be able to handle it.
Some of it is so subconscious and we
Yeah.
don't, we're not even recognizing it. So really a lot of what I like to do is through my childbirth classes that I give and just speaking to women is to just bring this all up to the surface
Hmm.
and really just give education on what we're going in with and the process and being and having compassion of for the fear of the unknown and just actually just noticing that that exists already
Hmm.
releases the fear and
Hmm.
um
Yeah,
yeah
I
just
love that.
yeah
Yeah. I just love framing fear as an active imagination. It's a strength of an active imagination.
yeah that's a beautiful
Yeah.
way to put it. I really
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, so one of the things that you said, in a different conversation we had was that birth is a healing experience, and that really stuck out to me and really stayed with me, and I was wondering if you can elaborate on that. What do you mean that birth is a healing experience? I imagine many people wouldn't see it that way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it can be a healing experience, because it's such an intense experience and you're coming in with, like I said before, you're just coming in with so much. So people, women really can really find their power and feel really powerful and in their birth. And and I find that that also trickles through into motherhood and if God forbid, if they have a birth experience that's traumatic or they don't feel good about, healing through that experience and finding their voice and their strength through the healing process can also be a healing experience.
Yeah, I really like that too. Um, and I like the idea of like women finding the strength and the power maybe that they didn't even know they had, and all of that, and the
Mhm.
birth experience and parenthood is an opportunity to bring all of that out.
Mhm.
Um, Speaking of birth trauma, what are some of the things that you see in your practice that might maybe prevent a birth trauma, or some of the things that you might see that actually cause to perpetuate more birth trauma? If there's any factors that you can identify that people can be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. So the main factor that I see with birth trauma is women not feeling heard or seen or
Mhm,
not feeling witnessed. And this is what I mean also when that this can also be healed. And this is what some of the work that I do with women that have birth trauma is acknowledging their power and where they did have a say. It doesn't mean that they were listened to at the moment, which causes a birth trauma. But what what people, oftentimes think of birth trauma is, they had a C-section or they didn't want an epidural and got one, which is funny because I actually have been by births where women did want an epidural and they didn't get one because
mhm,
of the time or the
yeah.
anesthesiologist didn't get there in time and they gave birth too fast and they found that as a trauma, even though I felt like that was a beautiful, you know, beautiful birth, but for them they weren't heard or they weren't
Yeah,
taken care of in the moment. So
yeah.
yeah, so it's regardless of the outcome and feeling like that they had to say that they were witnessed and that they were a part of the experience rather than it just happening to them, that
Mhm.
they were part of it and that they were able to voice their opinion and people were there and witnessed. There was actually there was this study done with doulas um that they had a woman, I don't know if they were doulas, but women supporting another woman in their birth experience just by sitting in the corner and knitting a scarf or, whatever they were knitting. And those women had better outcomes as well, because even though they just had somebody sitting in the corner, they knew that that person was there for them and that was witnessing them in their most vulnerable moments. And they felt more calm just having somebody there, knowing that if they needed somebody, somebody was there. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not
no,
surprised by that.
not to say, I mean, to be at a birth where I'm sitting in a corner and knitting.
Right. I'm sure you're not like knitting versus the
Yeah,
doula.
we'll have to
It's
do.
the capacity of it.
Yeah, but just that
Yeah.
concept of feeling witnessed and seen and heard, and if you need somebody, that somebody's there for them. Um,
Yeah. And many women they don't even consider getting a doula as an option. Some people don't even know that what a doula does or what a doula is or why they would benefit from a doula. But I I really want to echo what you're saying, Shayna, that having somebody there to witness is already so healing and powerful. And how much more so if that person is also trained and professional and can also give you help and support when you need it in a professional kind of way. So,
yeah,
it's different to have a doula versus like let's say like your husband or something who
there's something about a woman who has
yeah,
been there and
yeah,
can witness you, and really feel seen. And yeah, that's something that a husband can't give. But the truth is that there's things that husbands give that doulas can't give also. So they're just
true.
yeah,
Yeah,
it has the rules.
that's true, that's true. Everybody I think, the big, takeaway here also is that everybody comes into the birth experience with a lot of history
Yeah.
and their belief systems and their feelings, their expectations, their hopes, their fears, all of this stuff, and I found that whatever unresolved traumas or whatever unfinished business there is in relationships,
Yeah.
it all shows up in the transition into parenthood.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering also, like I know we were talking a little bit about that, but if you had a specific, maybe just like one example where you might have seen that in your practice or even for yourself.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So this comes back to what we were talking about in the beginning of that first book of Childbirth Without Fear, but
Yeah.
it's not only fear, it's also everything else that you're bringing into it.
Mhm.
So it plays out, first of all, there's besides for the worry of the fear and the unknown, it's also concern of identity changes or life changes and just becoming a mom.
Yeah.
Um, or if you have a kid, it's like, having another kid and how you're gonna juggle that. And, like you said, past traumas that surface, anxieties, or, um, just a natural tendency to hold on to the familiar. But this shows up in your body. Your body's storing it and holding it. So this can I mean, it can be a lot of things, but it really comes from tension and holding back and resisting. And, that does us a disservice when we're giving birth. So, but yeah, there's ways to get through it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, well, let's talk about some of the ways to get through it, and how do you support women with actual healing and with maybe with surrendering to the experience of the present moment, and also postpartum healing too. Afterwards, integrating the experience into their identity.
Hmm. Yeah. So first of all, it's just noticing it and having awareness around
Mhm.
this, and realizing that our body stores things and how. important it is to in birth to let go and let the process happen, which for many people, especially those with trauma and anxiety, can be really hard. So
Yeah.
just having first of all acknowledging and having compassion of it on it and also trying to work through obviously this is also why birth is so healing because you can really take some time before you're giving birth or even postpartum to really kind of look inward and think, what are the things in my life that are holding me back? What are the relationships that are straining on me? Not necessarily that you're gonna fix, if you haven't spoken to your mom in 10 years, you'll start talking to her because of the birth. But yeah, just, acknowledging it, noticing it, trying to,
Mhm.
you know, I tell people that, make a little bit more eye contact with people than usual, or, give somebody a hug, or just, trying to just be a bit more open. But it starts with acknowledging and compassion and noticing and being curious.
Yeah, I love all of that, and it's so interesting. You're actually reminding me of this was a few years ago. I actually did work with somebody who had a very stressful relationship with her mom, and after she had the baby and went through this treatment for postpartum depression, some of the treatment actually like brought her mom into the sessions and included working together with her and the mom to repair their relationship. And it actually it was really beautiful just to it was very beautiful just to, obviously without saying any identifying information about anyone. It was really beautiful to just witness their dynamic changing over time, and the daughter understanding more about what her mother went through when she was little, and the mom like giving her strength and validation for what she's going through. It was just like a very beautiful repair to watch because they were both making assumptions about the other one that were completely off base and not
Right.
aligned with the person's experience. So it was just so beautiful to just watch all of these assumptions melt away. So sometimes this kind of transformational experience can actually mend relationships that were strained from the past. Not always, but
Not
sometimes.
always, yeah. And we
Yeah,
have to
not
be
always.
careful with that also,
Right, not always.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
saying to mend unhealthy relationships, but you know.
right, right. Right,
Yeah.
but sometimes it can make relationships if both people are willing to do the work on themselves, not the other person, then it's possible to, move the needle towards a healthier direction in the relationship.
Yeah, yeah, and there's, and it's deep because there's, we carry mother wounds, and then,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
journey of us also becoming mothers, and that can also, transfer into, motherhood for ourselves, and just acknowledging all of this and working through it can be really just a healing journey.
it really can be, yeah. One of my old coworkers, at the hospital I used to work at with postpartum and pregnant moms, such an amazing place. She used to say that postpartum depression is the best gift in the worst packaging. And she was talking exactly about how it gives this opportunity to work through everything that hasn't been worked through while the child is still very little. Um, and and this way, all of this stuff, when it gets worked through earlier on in the child's life, it actually saves a lot of years of grief down the line. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe some people wouldn't see it that way.
Right. I have mixed feelings about that, but I mean, I
Yeah,
hear one perspective, but yeah,
yeah,
I mean, that's an interesting approach.
yeah. I mean, it's like an opportunity to work through
Opportunity. Yeah. Yeah, it could
it.
definitely be an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Not always an easy one, and sometimes can be quite derailing, especially a lot of women who never get the help they need, or postpartum depression or anxiety that goes undiagnosed a lot of times in women and also in men too, and dads. And and sometimes, like, I'll see somebody um, coming to see me, and what they really have, and their kids are older already, but what they really have is postpartum depression that just never resolved. It started postpartum, and then it just continued and lingered and never got treated or addressed, and it just turns into, like, plain depression.
Wow. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to reiterate with that what you were saying is that, you can have a great birth experience and also have an amazing relationship with everybody in your life
Yeah,
and still have postpartum depression. Like it
so
doesn't, it's not always correlated.
yeah, thanks
So,
for saying that.
yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just hormonal
Yeah.
and
Exactly. Yeah. There's a
biological.
very, very big shift in hormones. And sometimes it's completely out of our control. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the role of rest and mindfulness in motherhood and self-care. A lot of new moms and women in general are very busy. I mean, like, who isn't?
yeah.
And and a lot of moms kinda, like, put themselves last, or just really struggle with feeling guilty about taking breaks or doing things for themselves. And I'm wondering, how do you support people with that?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
rest and postpartum and honestly, rest and motherhood in
Yeah, and
general,
motherhood,
it
right.
can be, a really very big challenge. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt around moms resting and taking time for themselves and just also the practical of just, we're so busy and there's so much to juggle and the schedules and who's going where and what and the household chores and
Mhm.
jobs and it's so much to juggle. Um, so yeah, first of all, trying to not have guilt, not have so much guilt around rest,
Yeah,
realizing that resting
yeah.
is really important because we're holding so much and we do so much and when we take care of ourselves, then everybody else benefits around us. But also when it comes to rest, what I noticed is that it's not always sleep that people need, even though we're all lacking sleep, and most of us are lacking sleep. Um, is that resting is also calming your nervous system is also a part of resting. So finding pockets of time where you can just calm your nervous system down by doing different things. For example, like a gentle exercise or like taking time to do some yoga nidra with Ruthie, going for going for walks or going out in nature. Those are also they're not necessarily rest, but it's giving yourself a calm nervous system because it's a very cliche. Everyone says rest when baby rests. You should try to do that, but the reality
Mhm.
is that sometimes you got to do other things that calm you. That help you
Exactly.
calm down.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and taking breaks when you need it, delegating delegating when you can to, if there's things that other people can do and that you're just not going knowing that you're just not going to do everything perfect and not everything's going to get done and sometimes you got to prioritize yourself before you prioritize washing the dishes or putting in another load of laundry or you know
Mhm.
and yes, for some people that means taking a nap and resting, and for some people that means calling a friend and getting some support or having a listening ear. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, or taking a hot shower and staying in there for a few more minutes is awesome.
And
Yeah, rest as if we can get rest, you know, rest mindfully without judgment and know that you're doing something good for yourself and yeah.
yeah, I totally, yeah, 100%. And, like, showers are not a luxury. They're a basic need. I can't tell you how many moms just don't shower, for
Yeah.
the in the for, like, the first year. And like they're
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, if I can get 1 shower a week, that's, like, lucky." And,
Yeah, believe
it's
it.
yeah. Just like the day gets away and they just don't shower, and, it's a very basic kind of self-care that during motherhood I think this speaks to the extent to which somebody can just drown in this transition to motherhood where
Right,
something as basic as a shower becomes so difficult to do. Something as basic as just like getting dressed and not being in pajamas all day
right.
is not taken for granted. It becomes like a big deal. And yeah, I really resonate with what you're saying, Shayna. And I love how you're expanding the definition of rest from just sleeping to doing anything that really self-care, anything that calms the nervous system. Not all self-care is created equal. We tend to associate self-care with stuff that feels good, but that's actually not always the case. For example, like flossing is self-care, but it's not the funnest thing to do. Or I don't know, going to the dentist could be self-care, but that's not the funnest thing to do. Uh,
Right.
Whereas some things that are really enjoyable and fun to do, like eating a pizza and a tub of ice cream at night, it's not actually self-care, it's self-sabotage. So so we have to get our definition straight too with what is self-care and what truly calms the nervous system in a way that's healthy, not just in a way that feels good for the moment.
Definitely, definitely. And I would recommend Yoga Nidra for sure.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little biased though.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, even if you can't sleep, laying down horizontally, listening to a little Yoga Nidra,
Mhm.
and yeah, can be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it really is. And yoga nidra it's such an amazing practice too because if you practice it for half an hour, then it gives you 2 hours equivalent of restorative sleep. And
Really?
yeah, isn't that wild?
Wow.
And yeah, and the reason is it gets your body into the state of deep sleep faster, into theta and delta brain waves faster than a normal sleep cycle. So it's actually really interesting how it works, but I I find like when I do yoga nidra for even 20 minutes, I just get up and I feel so focused, calm, and restored. And for moms, I see it as a lifeline for moms who might not be getting enough sleep.
Wow. You're making me think that maybe doing Yoga Nidra also when you're in labor is probably a similar idea to hypnobirthing. I mean, I guess in a different way, but
Mhm.
um
I
I would
don't know. How would that work? Like, because I don't know anything about hypnobirthing, but maybe you know something about it, but how would you imagine integrating yoga nidra with a birth experience?
right. So I mean, I feel like I have to do some more research about that
Yeah.
because I don't know exactly how it could play out together. But just listening to something that will put your body in a state of rest when
Mhm.
you're here.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, especially if you're, like, in early labor and
Mhm.
you don't know how long a labor will last. It's really hard to predict. So even just turning on a yoga nidra when you're in early labor can be helpful to be present in the body, to relax. This is what yoga nidra does. It's different than other meditations because it's a systematic, progressive way to relax in layers. It relaxes first the physical body, then the energetic body, then the mind, then, and then it goes to, like, deeper, subconscious levels and relaxes those, and that's where a lot of, the subconscious and then unconscious healing can happen.
Wow. So I
Really
think this could
yeah.
be really good for women that are, in early labor or
Yeah.
are trying to get their bodies to go into labor or their
Mhm.
state or it could be really awesome, almost like an epidural. because and that's similar it's a similar idea to hypnobirthing, where I'll give you an example of a birth that I was at with hypnobirthing. And
Okay.
hypnobirthing could look like a lot of things for different people, and it doesn't always, play out, but really the point is that you're through this meditation from the hypnobirthing is that you're going into a very deep meditation that it's in your body. So you're in, an altered state of consciousness, I guess. And, like, for example, I was at a birth with someone that was doing hypnobirthing. She practiced hypnobirthing before the birth, so she was familiar with it, obviously. But she looked like she wasn't even in labor. Like, she looked like she was taking a nap. And
Mm,
yeah, you couldn't tell that she was even having contractions. She was
interesting.
she was totally, yeah, she was totally in this meditation, and it was giving her body pain relief, because our body gives us natural pain relief hormones when we're giving birth, but we kind of counteract that sometimes with the adrenaline, and it gets all, I'm not going to go into all the
Yeah.
hormones and everything, but our body does give endorphins to help us with the pain of labor. Anyway, so when we really allow our bodies to let go, it can be a less painful experience. And if you're in a state of this, meditation, deep meditation, then you're in this state. So I witnessed her not having pain, and she was until she was ready to push. She looked like she was sleeping,
Wow, that's fascinating.
and she was, and it was because she was in a hypnotic state from the meditation.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's yoga nidra also puts you into this lightly altered state of consciousness. And I would guess if somebody practices it beforehand and is
Yeah,
familiar with the practice, I would imagine it would be more helpful than if it's somebody's first time ever trying yoga nidra.
right.
But I'm very curious too,
Yeah.
how it would affect someone's birth experience.
I think, yeah, for those practicing it
Mhm.
for before, probably can have a similar. I mean, I don't know for sure. I have to look more into it, but it can be probably. I would imagine a similar experience because it's a deep meditation.
Yeah.
But for sure, for early labor, I can see that as being really helpful, and especially if you're in labor for early labor for a long time and not sleeping.
Yeah.
It happens a lot when you're in early labor,
Mhm.
especially for first-time moms, that it can, disrupt the sleep, and then the rest of the
Right.
labor, they're pretty exhausted, so that it's hard to sleep when you're having contractions, so if I think with yoga nidra could be really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and meditation and yoga nidra anyways, they're also good for the baby in general. Like
Yeah.
throughout the whole pregnancy, they're good for the baby. It's good for the baby afterwards to listen to meditations. Sound healing is very helpful, so it helps
Mhm.
calm and soothe the baby's nervous system too.
Yeah. Especially
Mhm.
especially for moms that have many kids or multiple kids at home.
Yeah.
Because those I find my clients that have kids at home oftentimes feel less connected to their pregnancies, or, just because simply they don't have time and they're so
Right.
busy with their other kids and with
Right.
life, and, it's like they're too busy. And
Right.
and t and having a practice of meditation and getting connected to your baby and your breath and your body and what's happening, it gives you a moment to really be like, "Oh, okay, this is happening." Because
Right.
there's so many, yeah, because women and maybe I don't know if you have this experience also, but that you've done it, like, you've been there, done that already, now you have too many other things on your mind, but then you get to your birth and you're just like, "What? I'm giving birth now?" What there wasn't a lot less prep than there was, let's say, from your
Mhm.
first pregnancy, that you were so focused on it, and, like, everything revolved around it. Now it's like you're just trying to get through the day, and then all of a sudden you go into labor and your body's like, "What? You didn't prep for this." You know?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
taking on some kind of a meditation practice is really helpful.
Definitely, definitely. So, and it's also good for kids too. Like if you have a baby at home, just putting on, or little kids, like some parents have also toddlers. So putting on a yoga nidra for kids can help them also to fall asleep at night and to relax, to calm down after school. It could help if kids sometimes get forced to take naps, but this is an alternative. Like you don't have to fall asleep when you're napping. You can just rest and relax and listen to this. And, um, yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
try that.
another application for it.
I'm gonna try that on my kids.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, I put it on last night for my kids, and my daughter, she was, like, sleeping in 2 minutes, and and my son, he had, like, a harder time just winding down for the night in general and laying down. So it was already the end of the practice when he was only just, like, laying down. But, he fell asleep pretty quickly even, like, just listening to the tail end of it, so,
It's a good idea.
yeah. I'm wondering also what you see as I think, sleep and rest, as we've established for moms, is just so important, and to let go of the guilty feelings, which is not easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that guilt can be very deep and very pervasive.
Right, right, yeah.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
society that we live in is so
Mhm.
it's so, not set up for this. It's just this go, 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 be productive, and if you're not being productive, then there's something wrong, and you should be doing this, and you should be in a lot of shoulds.
Yeah, exactly. So much shoulding and so much shaming, like indirect, subtle kind of shaming.
Right.
And we see it in we s I don't are you familiar with Brené Brown's work?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So she talks about how these, like, webs of shame, especially for women, that if we look for shaming messages, we can actually find them in every corner. And we you find them in tiny interactions. We find them in our own minds. We find all this like, you're not good enough. You should be doing things differently. The way that you're feeding the baby is not good enough. This is not good enough. That's not good enough. Um, and like this happens through comparing. This happens through like well-meaning advice giving. I don't think anybody's like meaning to intentionally be shaming, but it's just something that's so like woven into the fabric of interaction that it just happens. And when we start looking for it and we start seeing it, then we can bring that shame to light, because shame likes to hide in the corners and in the dark shadows. When we
Yeah,
can like shine a light on it, and then it dissipates. And when we can share the things that we practice that vulnerability that you were talking about in the beginning, and share some of the things that we feel vulnerable about or may feel some shame about in safe it has to be with people who are safe and are receptive to hearing those shares. It could be very, very healing.
yeah, and also
Mm.
are not gonna try to fix anything.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Non-judgmental, not trying to fix, just showing it the light of day. That's beautiful, I love that.
Yeah, so while we're talking on this topic of, guilt and shame, um, part of this is also really listening to ourselves and operating from our own center, from our own alignment, and finding this inner safety within the body and within the mind and within the world. Um, when we experience a lot of shame, it erodes this sense of inner safety.
Yeah,
And but safety is an inside job, so we can also build it up. And to build it up, it takes some real trust in ourselves to build it up. And I find that a lot of times it can even feel like a spiritual kind of practice. So I'm wondering for you, like, what do you see as the role of spirituality in healing?
yeah. Um, I'll combine the 2 parts to what you're saying about the myths also,
Yeah.
is that there's myths that moms don't struggle, or if you're struggling, then it's a sign of failure or that
Mhm.
something wrong and that, that you should just be able to have it together or that you would know exactly what to do with your kids or if if you need a break, that means that that you're not handling it or that you don't love your kids or if you're feeling overwhelmed by everything that you have going on, then it's like, oh, maybe my kids are going to miss out or I'm not doing a good job. And really, in those moments, finding strength through spirituality and knowing that you're not doing this alone and you don't have to carry this alone. And sometimes just taking, I mean, I can only speak for myself. This is what I do, what
Yeah.
I try to do is to, when I'm feeling very overwhelmed, is to just go outside and take a breather and take a minute and just, speak to God and just tell him that I'm feeling overwhelmed and acknowledging what I'm going through by speaking it out and just realizing, if there's if it just feels too heavy and sometimes it just feels too heavy. And sometimes I feel like I cannot manage my life and I have too much going on and like this is just way too much for me. And we have this perception also as I'm going through my day of everything that I have to do and everything that I have to get done and everything is on me and my kids' feelings are on me and what's going on in my home and running it and what's happening with me and all the decisions that have to be made. And then I can really stop for a second and realize, one second, this is not just me. I'm here in this physical world and I'm going about my day doing laundry and thinking that like it's all about me. But there's a way bigger picture and someone else is running the show and someone else is in control of everything or someone like, God, your higher power, whatever, however you want to relate to it. I relate to it as God. But, you
Yeah.
know, that's there's someone else running the show and when it feels too much, I just say straight up, this is just too much. And you gotta help me here because I can't handle all of it. And
Mhm.
know, and just when I do that, I can just take a minute and say, and have compassion for myself, first of all, and just notice that this is too much for me right now and give it over and just God, like, help me get through this time and just be there with me. And I know that you're running the show and I know that I'm not in control of everything and just, really be with me and having trust that there's a bigger plan and I'm in a process that I don't see.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. What you're saying is resonating so much for me, and I also like having this cosmic perspective. Um, I'm imagining, when you're like the mountains, they look really nice, or like a landscape looks really organized from an airplane view. But if you're in the mountains and there's all these like you're walking through like the thorns and the bushes and the path might not be so clear. You can't really see where it ends or where it begins.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it can feel kind of messy and even like disorganized sometimes. But when you zoom out to a more like higher altitude cosmic perspective, it just all like it's beautiful and there's an order to the madness.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Yeah, and I think that also highlights the point of sometimes we need to just stop.
Yeah.
We need to just stop. And when we're feeling overwhelmed, and it could be multiple times throughout the day, it's just stopping, connecting with myself, taking a breath, connecting to my creator, and realizing like, okay, I'm overwhelmed right now, but I know that there's a plan and there's someone else that's involved in this. This is not only me. I feel so much weight on my shoulders all the time. I feel like I'm carrying the world sometimes. And when I can stop and realize that it's not just me carrying the world, it's such a weight off of my shoulders.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I also I feel that too sometimes, like, just the weight of all the responsibilities is so much, and I feel like I'm in the weeds a lot of the times, and if I
Yeah,
don't do this responsibility or that, then things will fall apart,
right.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and it really for me also what you're echoing, like, it really does help to just go outside, like, look at the stars, pray, and it helps to lift some of that weight and just trust in the process of the universe that
Exactly.
we're like little specks and part of a bigger plan, and
Exactly.
kind of also very humbling too. Like, what we do, it matters. Of course, it matters, um, but also we're little like pixels in a very big picture.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like it's
Sometimes
not
I
all
have
on
this
us.
vision of like I just have this vision of me in God's hands.
Yeah,
Like, just carry me. Like just
yeah,
put me in your hands, whatever that
yeah,
means. And
yeah.
just like carry me because you know,
Yeah. I found
it's
also that, like, when I just, like, give up control and just kinda go with the flow, and, like, I don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm just gonna go with the flow and show up anyways. I find that it actually things work out a lot better. Like,
yeah,
things work out much more favorably when I don't need to, like, you know ahead of time what every detail is going to be.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they say, let go, let God.
Yeah, they do say that, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's just start maybe winding down a little bit. And if you could share about your offerings and where people can find you. And of course, we'll have all of that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, so I offer doula support. I teach a holistic mindfulness childbirth class called conscious birthing. And it's so, all about what we were speaking about of going into a birth conscious and being present through the experience. I offer postpartum support for women that are going through birth trauma or need some extra support. And you can find me. I guess I'll leave my number, or I have Instagram, email, and yeah, feel free to reach out.
Sounds good. We'll have all that in the show notes. And for any listeners who either are moms or preparing to be moms or know someone who is a mom who needs some postpartum support or needs a really good doula. So I think you'll be in great hands with Shayna.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, well, is there any other final words of wisdom that you want to leave listeners with, especially people who are new parents or struggling with anxiety or stress or burnout or recovering from trauma or fear, struggling with fear?
Yeah, I would say to trust your body's wisdom and and honor your own pace, and embrace the journey of motherhood with compassion and with patience and with love.
Amen, amen. Thank you so much, Shayna, for coming on this show. It was really such a delight, and I feel so energized and so inspired by our conversation and all of the wisdom and the insights that you've shared. So, thank
Thank
you.
thank you, Ruthie. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this conversation with Shayna Hammer, I welcome you to like, follow, subscribe, and share this with anyone who you think might benefit from listening, especially if it's a new parent or a new mom or a mom to be. You can find information about Shayna in the show notes, as well as links to get in contact with her, and also the link to join the Nali Yoga WhatsApp community if you're interested in that, for the most recent information on new offerings and new episodes. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and I hope to meet you back here again soon. Be well for now.